Hello and welcome to a new English class. Once again, it's me. Do you recognize me? The same guy, the same person as always. But today I'm going to speak to you about the present. The present tense, which is very easy. The present tense comes before the future. It comes before the past in this case. And it's the present tense. And I'm going to speak to you probably in the third person singular. Okay? I'm going to talk to you about my sister, my father, my brother, my car, the weather, third person singular. Now, yesterday, a friend of mine asked me if my sister lived in Madrid, and I told her she didn't. But his question was, does your sister live in Madrid? And I said, no, she doesn't. Does she live in Spain? No, she doesn't. Does she live in Europe? And I said, no, she doesn't. And he asked me, does she live in Asia? And I said, no, she didn't. And finally said, well, where does she live? I said, well, she lives in North America. And my friend said, your sister lives in North America, but there are 3 countries in North America. Which country does she live in? And I said, 3 countries in North America. What? He said, well, Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And I said, no, I think there are more. Isn't Cuba in North America? What about the Caribbean islands? Are they part of North America? And he said, well, I don't know. So we need to find that out. But he asked me, which country, Mexico, the United States, or Canada, which country does your sister live in? And I said, she lives in Colorado in the United States. And he asked me, is Colorado in the east or in the west of the United States? And I said, it's in the west. And then he asked me, is it on the east coast or the west coast? And I said, neither one. And he said, but didn't you tell me that your sister lives in Colorado, which is in the west? I said, yes. Colorado's in the west, but not on the west coast. Ah, do you mean it's inland? Of course, yes, Colorado's inland. And then he asked me, how long does it take? How long does it take to drive from the west coast to Colorado? And I said, well, it depends. And then he asked me, well, what does it depend on? And I said, well, it depends on where you start from. Because if you start from San Diego, near Mexico on the west coast, it takes longer to reach Colorado than if you start from San Francisco or from Oregon. And he said, okay, well, how long does it take to drive from San Francisco to Colorado? And I said, well, it depends. He said, well, it depends on what? It depends on what part of Colorado you're referring to. Well, why? Is Colorado big? I said, yes, Colorado's bigger than Andalusia in Spain. If you ask me, how long does it take to drive from Madrid to Andalusia? My question is, well, it depends. And if you ask me, well, what does it depend on? I will tell you, well, it depends on whether I'm driving from Madrid to Almeria, to Cordoba, to Granada, to Seville, to Huelva, to Cadiz, or to Despeñaperros. Okay? It depends. It depends. And I said, okay, and he asked me, okay, how long does it take to drive from San Francisco on the west coast to Denver, the capital of Colorado? And I said, it takes a day and a half. And he said, a day and a half? Didn't you tell me that Colorado is in the west of the United States? I said, yes, it is. But it takes a day and a half to go from the west coast to Colorado? I said, yes. Maybe even 2 days. It takes a long time. Ah, because the United States is very big. Yes, it is. And does your sister live in Denver? Yes, she does. How long has she been living in Denver? She's been living in Denver for 30 years. And is she married? Yes, she is. Does she have any children? Excuse me? Does she have any children? Yes, she does. Well, how many children does she have? She has 2 children. Are they little or grown? Are they little? Are they still little? Or are they grown? They are grown. How old are they? Well, one is 30 and the other is 26. Are they married? One of them is married, but the other one isn't. And do they live? Does the younger one live with his mother, with your sister? No, he doesn't. Where does he live? He lives in an apartment in Denver. And does your sister work? Yes, she does. What does she do? What does your sister do for a living? What does your sister do? What does she do? What does she do? Well, it depends. Well, it depends. What does it depend on? What does it depend on? Well, it depends on what time of the day. So, I don't understand. You mean your sister does different things? Yes, she does. Well, what does she do? Well, in the morning, she has a job. She has a different job at midday, and she has a different job in the afternoon. Oh, really? Well, what does she do in the morning? What does she do in the morning, my sister? Yes, what does your sister do in the morning? She teaches. Ah, good. What does she teach? Excuse me? What does she teach? I can't hear you. What do you want to know? I want to know what your sister teaches. You want to know what she teaches? That's right. Oh, well then repeat the question. Okay, well what does your sister teach? She teaches interior design. Ah, interior design. Where does she teach it? She teaches it at a technical school, a technical university in Denver. And how many hours a day does she teach? Does she teach? How many hours a day does she teach? Yes. How many hours a day does she teach? She teaches, añadiendo una sílaba. She teaches 3 hours a day. And how many different classes does she give? Oh, well, she gives 3 different classes. How long does each class last? Each class lasts an hour. Does she take a break during the 3 hours? Yes, she does. How long does the break last? The break lasts 10 minutes. What does your sister do? What does she do? What does she do during the break? She has a coffee. What time does she finish? She finishes at 11:40, 20 minutes to 12. And what does she do after that? Well, she goes to downtown Denver. And what does she do in downtown Denver? She has a quick lunch. And why doesn't she have a long lunch? Well, she doesn't have a long lunch because she needs to have a quick lunch. And why does she need to have a quick lunch? Because she has to start her second job. What time does she start her second job? She starts her second job around 1 o'clock. And what does she do? She works in a bank. She works in a bank starting at 1 o'clock. Well, what does she do in the bank? Excuse me, what do you want to know? I want to know what your sister does in the bank. You want to know what she does in the bank? Yes, I want to know what your sister does in the bank. What does your sister do? What does she do in the bank? She is the official decorator. And why does the bank need an official decorator? Well, because the bank is expanding. And why is the bank expanding? Because it's very successful. Oh, and so it's building new branches. And my sister is designing or decorating the new branches. And what does your sister do in the afternoon? She decorates. What does she decorate? Interiors. Does she work freelance? Yes, she does. So in the afternoon, your sister is an independent decorator. That's right. And what does she decorate? She decorates offices, restaurants, and homes. Does she like to decorate offices? No, she doesn't. Why doesn't she like to decorate offices? She doesn't like to decorate offices because the decoration is functional and boring. Does she like to decorate restaurants? No, she doesn't. Why doesn't she like to decorate restaurants? Well, my sister doesn't like to decorate restaurants because usually the restaurant owner thinks he's a professional decorator too. And they have some conflicts. And does she like to decorate homes? Yes, she does. Why does she like to decorate homes? Because homes, the homeowners give her the key and say, decorate it. I'm coming back in 5 months. Here's the money. Here's the key. Good luck. And my sister enjoys that type of independence. Okay, I'll be back another day, another time, with more English. Thank you.